Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Today, we're doing a carbon fiber trunk swap onto my 2021 Camaro ZL1. I went with the Anderson Composite integrated spoiler trunk, and you can see it right here. It's a super nice looking trunk. Actually, if you saw one of my previous videos, I received a previous version of this trunk, and I'll lift it up here so you can take a good look at it. And my first one actually was damaged in shipping, and I actually had to saw it in half to get a replacement sent out. This is the replacement trunk. Anderson Composite was pretty cool and got it out to me relatively quickly. And the replacement one looks super good, no shipping damage. It was boxed tremendously well. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove my OEM trunk right back here. We're gonna pull that off, and then we're gonna get this bad boy installed. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I'm gonna be doing it probably one man, unless one of my 350 kids decides to lend me a hand, which is doubtful. So I'm gonna be doing it one man. Hopefully I don't drop anything. And yeah, stick around. We'll go ahead and get this knocked out. I'll get this thing installed. And this will be the first of a multiple video series on transforming the exterior of my ZL1 here to a full carbon fiber setup. And that obviously doesn't mean I'm replacing the body panels with carbon fiber, but I will be transforming the front here and swapping this to a 1LE front splitter up here in the front. I'll be putting the 1LE satin lower and upper grille. Those will actually be the OEM pieces, not carbon fiber. But I will be swapping out the little fog light bezels here with 1LE carbon fiber iterations of that, and I'll be putting carbon fiber 1LE canards in place. And if you look over here on the side, I'll be putting carbon fiber side skirts on here. They won't be full replacements. They don't really make that for this car because of just the way it's constructed and how it's a single piece. You'd have to pretty much start cutting into the panels, which I don't want to do. So it'll actually be a overlay, real carbon fiber. It'll actually go over top of the stock side skirts here. Now in the rear, I will be doing a Anderson Composite rear diffuser, which I actually just got repaired recently by a local buddy of mine. And the reason I had to do that is when it arrived, it had a little bit of shipping damage, but it wasn't so much as to need to get it replaced, so I was able to get it repaired. And then today, as we talked about, I'll be knocking out this sweet trunk and putting it on the back. Maybe we'll weigh them, see if there's any kind of difference in weight. And if so, you know, maybe I'll save some weight, but mostly I'm doing this just because, you know, it looks cool, and I'm really not a huge fan of the ZL1 trunk. It's just pretty plain. You know, it doesn't really differentiate itself from the SS very much. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Here we are at the rear of the car and the trunk. Go ahead and pop this up. And you can see here, we have a lot of components that we will need to remove, including these little interior pop clips. So you can use an interior trim tool. We're gonna go ahead and remove that. That'll get us to the underside of the trunk. And we're gonna have to remove the latch mechanism here and the wiring that goes down here. We're gonna have to drop those down. Once we remove all of this, we're gonna have to then remove the latch mechanism and then pop out the gas struts on both sides. You're gonna make sure you don't drop this trunk onto your car. That would really suck. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my tools out, and we're gonna go ahead and get this piece removed. Picked up this interior trim kit. This one's kind of excessive, but it really has everything you need to do any kind of interior repair. I have a link for this in the description. Take a look if you want a little bit more advanced of an interior kit. I'm gonna go ahead and get these tools out and ready to go. And we're gonna go ahead and get these clips removed. Clips all have been removed. Now you need to remove this little plastic shell that goes over the latch mechanism. And just like the clips, you can use a trim tool and hopefully you don't fling it across the room. Once you have that removed, this should just pop loose. And just make sure you feed this wire through there, and then you go ahead and put this out of the way. Now we have a number of these clips holding the wire harness kind of flush to the trunk. You want to go ahead and pop those off. Use a plastic interior trim tool for this, not like the metal one I was using earlier, just so you don't mar up your trunk, if you plan on keeping your trunk long term for the future here. And these pop out relatively simple. Just be careful you don't completely shred these clips. You may have to replace a few of these, you know, so. And we have the full wiring harness here removed from the trunk. Next up is this safety latch mechanism, and you can see here, it's just a snap. Just make sure you don't break that, and then you just want to kind of squeeze in, get those clips, and you can remove this, and it'll just kind of hang free here. And then next up will be the latch mechanism itself. We'll go ahead and get this removed. Gonna go ahead and remove this latch mechanism. It is a, looks like a T30, and go ahead and remove this. It appears to be just 2 T30 bolts. So it is held in with these 2 little clips. You can actually slide the latch to the left, and it opens up into a larger void here. Then you can actually just pull this latch mechanism straight out. It's a little bit heavy, so you don't want to just probably dangle it too long from the cord here, but you do have a connector. You can go ahead and just push that tab in and remove the connector. Maybe. I hate connectors. All right, so we have a connector here. It's got a little tab, and you can kind of push it in and hopefully get this connector to pop loose, maybe. There we go. And you can see here the latch mechanism, and move that out of the way. Now we have the 2 trunk, I believe these are the adjusters, so when you put it down, it can help level your trunk. And it's just, you're gonna get a trim tool, get on there, and you can pop it loose. It's just these 2 little pop tabs. Just make sure you don't break this, because yeah. And you probably want to remember, you know, which side these are on, even though when you get the new trunk in, it probably won't matter, but just in case. And just get your trim tool under there, and you can work it loose like that, and get that removed. And then we're gonna have to go ahead and we're gonna want to remove our brake light here. It looks like the center third brake light here is held on with not only some tape, but also 4 T10 screws that hold these little metal brackets that kind of lock the light into place. I'm gonna go ahead and get those removed, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this third brake light removed. And this is the clip that comes out on the end pieces. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rest of these, and then we'll go ahead and get this light removed. All 4 T10s have been removed, as had the 4 little metal clips. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of heat to this, just to kind of help soften up this adhesive, and so I can hopefully remove this a little bit cleaner. Pretty much you have to get your hand in through the hole here under the trunk behind the light, and kind of push up while disengaging the light itself. Here we go, and you can see here it does have a clip. And there we go. Finally was able to remove this third brake light. As you can see, it has almost like a foam sticker adhesive. So I'm not sure how I'm going to replicate that onto the carbon fiber trunk, but most likely I'm gonna have to remove this and then put some 3M or something like that in its place, some of the thick foam 3M, and we'll probably just go that route. With the third brake light removed, you do see that the waterproofing adhesive, it's got like a foam pad type material, pretty much completely shredded. And I don't think there's a way to actually remove this without damaging the adhesive. So of course, when you remove the third brake light, now I actually have put the clips back into place here. As you can see, these clips, this is what you're dealing with. That's why you have to remove them. These actually are what lock this into the socket of your trunk. And I just temporarily put it back in place just to kind of show that. And as you can see, the adhesive is, you know, fragmented apart. And so if you wanted to reuse this specific third brake light on your carbon fiber trunk or another trunk, you would have to then remove all of this adhesive and put in some new similar thick waterproofing adhesive foam material all the way around. I'm actually putting a completely new OEM smoke third brake light in the trunk. So not too worried about it. I just removed this just to demonstrate, but that is one thing you're gonna have to make sure you do. Now for my application, I'm leaving the Chevy symbol on this trunk. I'm not gonna put a Chevy symbol on the carbon fiber trunk. I'm gonna leave that clean and, you know, with no emblems, just for that cleaner look. So next up, we're gonna have to go ahead and we're gonna remove the gas struts here. And what you need to do is just pop this little clip up here, and then this will unlock it and you can remove it. And then we're gonna remove the 2 bolts on each side. Just make sure real quick that you don't let the trunk collapse onto your car. So you might wanna put some towels or something just to do that, or have somebody assist you. Hopefully you can see this. Here's the grass strut. I have a little pick, but you can use a small flathead. And what you wanna do is you just wanna get it up in this little gap up here, and you can pull back this locking mechanism. When you do that, this will pop loose and you'll have your gas strut removed from your trunk. Of course, you want to do this on both sides. And there we go. I'll go ahead and grab my tools, remove these hinge bolts, and then we'll go ahead and get the trunk removed from the car. Going to go ahead and remove these hinge bolts. It is a 10mm. I have my daughter assisting, and hopefully we don't drop my trunk onto my back window. If we do, my daughter will pay for it.
I don't got money.
All right. All right, ready? Don't drop.
I'm not dropping.
Or no allowance. Ever. All right, so now see the bolts are still holding it in place, and we're gonna go ahead and slide it back and out, and up and out. And I got it. And move this out of the way. I have the Anderson composite trunk here. It did come with wood blocks on the hinges to kind of protect everything, and so make sure you do remove those. And let's see if I can one-man this. Okay, it's kind of in place temporarily.
I got one washer nut in place, and let's see if I can get the second one.
All right, just hand tight on this. And you probably don't want to freaking torque this down crazy because it is directly into carbon fiber. There is no additional steel plate or any kind of protection between the trunk carbon fiber material and your actual hinges. That would have been kind of cool if they had maybe a reinforced steel plate or something, but you know, it is what it is. So do not blast this in here with some high torque, because I'm not sure if you'll damage it or crack it. So I just have a couple of these nuts in place. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tools, get these other 2 in, and then we'll go ahead and see about centering this and getting all this attached. As you can see here, the washer nuts here don't line up exactly where the hinge paint was. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually put a little tension off of them, and then you can actually maneuver the trunk a little bit and kind of get it as close as you can to where the OEM trunk was at, just so you know you have less kind of adjustments you're gonna have to do later on. So I'm gonna try to match up that paint missing there on both sides. If I can, to see how close I can get these. So this side's pretty far off, it looks like. So, you know, oh, there we go. I'm gonna lift it up just a little bit. And then add a little bit of torque to it just to get them lined up. It's figured less work later on. And you want it tight, but you just don't want to be getting crazy on that because this is directly to carbon fiber. There we go. And we go ahead and snap these back on. They just pop right into place, usually. And I'm looking for same exact size gas struts, but with lower power. So hopefully I don't send my freaking trunk into orbit when I pop my trunk. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to look at. And it's definitely, these gas struts are definitely too powerful for this much lighter trunk here, but just give you a general idea. Of course, if it lines up or not. And just make sure you check your gaps and whatnot, but overall, seems pretty good. Definitely probably need to do some adjustments, but it's a pretty good fit. And yeah, it definitely comes up pretty good. So next up, we're gonna wanna go ahead and get these latch mechanism and these little trunk stops in place. And I actually am still waiting on my replacement for the brake light because I do wanted to use a new one with fresh adhesive. I couldn't find my own foam adhesive. Hopefully you can find it a little bit easier. And once I get that, I'm go ahead and I will be getting the third brake light with the brand new adhesive installed. Pretty much snaps in, rerun the cables, and then we can you know, finish up this install. So what we're gonna do is we'll go ahead and reroute the cabling, and the Anderson composite trunk does have all the original areas that are screwed in for the snaps and clips, which is very nice. Nice finishing touch. So we should be able to put everything back into place, just like on the OEM trunk. Now, of course, it might not be perfect. You might have to make some adjustments with your clips. And so like this one does look like it's kind of a stretch to reach way up here. This one doesn't look like it fits, but we'll go ahead and leave that for here. And then we have, it looks like it already slotted for a couple bolts here in place for the latch. So I'm guessing they want us to use these provided ones instead of the OEM ones. Maybe they threaded this specific for these screws. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I use these when I install latch. So go ahead and remove these. And you can tell the underside of this trunk looks really good. I mean, it's exposed carbon fiber, but it is a finished side. Of course, it's not as nice as the top, but it's much nicer than you know, the kind of ugly underside of carbon fiber that you typically will see. Now we have here the latch, and as you remember, has these little locking lips that go up into place, and then it slides over. You see here, it has these two tabs. They fit up in these grooves here, and then it should slide over, and then these should line up with the bolt holes. Now, these bolt holes look okay, I guess, but my issue is this thing is not slotting in and upward. It's actually grinding. So I actually got a screwdriver and kind of pry these up a little bit to make some clearance, but it's still not lining up when I groove it into place with these holes here. So I'm gonna have to see what else I need to do to get this to fit flush so I can get the bolts in to hold my latch in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tweak with that a little bit and see if we can get this thing, we get this thing lined up and working. I did run into some issues getting this latch mechanism mounted onto the carbon fiber trunk. I could slot it into the little groove pieces and put it over, but I could not get these bolts to line up with these tabs slotted into this trunk. Now, what I had to do is I had to go through, look through here, kind of peek at what I was doing, and I ended up having to break out the drill and having to feather out the slots that the tabs go into a little bit to both sides, kind of put it in there, test it, slot it some more. I had to keep, and then I had to bend the tabs a little bit so I could finesse this into place to line up the two bolts. I did get it lined up, so I went ahead and bolted these in place. And so now it's fit. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this hooked up. I'm rerunning the wire harness here. I have this pretty sweet collection of like 10,000 million interior clips and whatnot. It comes with these very nice zip tie clips. A couple of my clips when I removed them kind of were dinged up and they weren't quite in the right spot because of course the carbon fiber has some of the drill holes slightly ran differently, and the links didn't quite reach quite right. Plus I had an extra clip that didn't go anywhere and I didn't want it to be banging around on stuff. So I actually cut a couple of these off and then put my own replacement zip tie and clip in place. And I ended up just kind of running it like this. I think will work out where, and I'll kind of clip it. So it just pretty much hangs here. This will all be underneath the interior piece, and then it's going to clip here. And then there's another one that's going to clip over here. And then you're going to want to plug in this connector into the latch mechanism itself. You snap that into place. Just be careful you don't damage the carbon fiber. And then of course this will go to the third brake light, which hopefully I'll receive soon. And that will run this. Of course this has the snap here, and you kind of want to just, you know, tweak it like here, and this will plug in like that. Of course this will then stick out of your interior piece that will clip into place. Now I'm not going to put that piece in until I get the third brake light you know, lined up, but we can go ahead and put these little, I guess these are for your adjustments for how it sits when it's closed, and these should just snap into place with the little clips, hopefully. Or maybe not. Oh, you actually didn't notice that, but real quick, you want to pull these little nubs upwards, which will then open these up a little bit, and then you can snap it in and then lock these in place by pushing them in. Like that, and then you can lock it by pushing those in, and then that should lock this into position. Go ahead and knock out the other one. And those lined up pretty good. And in place. And of course, as mentioned, the third brake light is not in place, and I'm not sure if this is lined up correctly. So I'm going to close. So that's shocking. First attempt to close. If you can see it, but doesn't look horrible. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to tweak it a little bit, and then we'll take a look at the gap and whatnot and see how it looks. I was messing with the trunk alignment a little bit more, and I think I dialed in a little bit better. Very, very close to being even. Doesn't really protrude out or dip down too much on either side. See here, gaps look pretty good. Super hard to get it 100%, but also was able to lower it down, so I got rid of the gap that was here. And so you may need to do this as well. See if I can show you. I have the gas struts removed right now so I could play with this. I actually lowered the latch itself here just a little bit downward, which then let the trunk latch further down, because of course where it's mounted on the carbon fiber trunk compared to the OEM trunk is probably slightly different. And so by being able to loosen these two bolts up, which are 1/2 inch, just a little bit down, I was able to then let this trunk come down, lock into place, flush, and really easy to get to this. You just have 4 little kind of like these plastic nut things here. You can hand remove them, and then you actually have 2 clips. Kind of hard to see, I don't have my light on me, but there's 2 little clips here, and they come over the top, so you need to lift it up, kind of up and then forward. I don't have it disconnected from the bottom. I just was able to tilt it here, make my adjustments, retweak these a little bit, and I got the trunk dialed in pretty good. So that should wrap it up for this evening. For you guys, it'll be a few minutes, and we'll jump back here and get that third brake light knocked out. Well, it's been a interesting last week or so. Up until I had the trunk installed and everything like that, everything was going pretty smooth. And then I went to get the third brake light here installed, and it just was nowhere near fitting into this cutout here. And I know the description of the trunk did mention that some fitting would be necessary. And I was in a rush, and I tried to shortcut it. Got some sandpaper because that's all I could find. It was really for like a sander, and I was sanding this thing out, and you know, kind of distracted. Was trying to get ready to go to the gym, and I freaking was sanding it. I could barely get my hand there, and I freaking scuffed the crud out of the back of my trunk here. So not only that, I went to install the third brake light thinking it was going to fit. It was not fitting. I might show some clips here, maybe not. And I was forcing it, and it cracked the third brake light pretty much where this isn't it. This is actually my original one from my OEM trunk, but see where this little gray plastic and black plastic, it actually split here because I guess the clip wasn't lined up right, and it just pushed and separated this piece and cracked it. So at that point, I just punted the third brake light into my yard somewhere and called it a day. Pulled the trunk off, got with my buddy who lives about 40 miles away at his shop here, and he was thankfully able to fix my mangled trunk. He pretty much re-cleared some of this. I'm not sure what all he did, but he spent a good number of hours getting it looking pretty mint. So shout out to him. He doesn't have a channel or anything like that, otherwise I'd link it. And you know, kind of sucked because I spent a good couple hours lining up the trunk, getting everything, you know, the hinges, because that's the one thing you'll notice when you get this trunk on here. You're gonna have to play with these hinges, even the latch mechanism down here, and to get this thing lined up. And I have it pretty much, I think 100%. It closes kind of hard, so I have to put it down and kind of give it an extra push. I think might be because somewhat of the gas shocks are for a heavier trunk. This is a lot lighter. So pretty much this video is taking 5 times longer than it should, just because I had to wait a couple days for this to get fixed, a couple days for me to get it to him. I got it back, I threw it on today, mostly lined everything up. I think it's pretty good, probably not quite as good as I had it, of course. And you know, I ended up no sandpaper. And take your time with this, and don't be lazy like I did. Don't shortcut it, and actually use some painter's tape. Tape out this whole area you're gonna be working out. Completely tape this all up, and then you're gonna want to use a Dremel. So that's what I ended up using. A little Dremel here. Here's some painter's tape, and then I ended up Dremeling it out, opening this gap up enough. And then here is my new, I had to buy a second new freaking third tail light. So that was an extra expenditure, not to mention how much it cost me to fix my trunk. Even though it is my buddy, I of course I'm going to pay him for his time. And I dremeled it out as best I could. And here is actually my one for my trunk. I'm using this to actually help fit, because when I tried to fit the other one, the stupid backing tape pretty much was coming off. And you know, it was getting stuck to the trunk. I was trying to get it off, and that just helped rush things, and that's caused some issues. So here's the OEM one with the clips on it, and you know, you want to make sure it fits, and you know, so boom, it fits in there. It doesn't really snap quite as good as on the OEM trunk. I'm not sure that's just because of the thickness of the carbon fiber versus the sheet metal, but you know, the big thing is you want to make sure you don't have any gaps. It does fit, you know, flush. Of course, you're going to see some here because the adhesive foam is damaged on this one. I'm just using this to kind of give me a test fit without having to, you know, use my other new third brake light. Hopefully I don't break it again. Just give you a general idea of how it fits. Does it fit flush with the clips? It seems like it does. So I should be good to go ahead and install my second new OEM third brake light. So I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, this, you would think this would be a little bit harder to pop out, but it kind of pops out, as you can see here. And we're gonna go ahead and get my new third brake light. And of course this thing flings open because of the gas strut shocks here are way too powerful. I'll hopefully find out a solution of a half power version of these. And here's my new replacement one. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get this adhesive off. I'm gonna feed in the plug. You wanna make sure you feed this through and plug it in before you snap this into place. Otherwise, I mean, you could do it, it'd just be a little bit more, you know, of a hassle trying to go through here and fish it in there. So pretty much I'm gonna have it set, you know, right behind the trunk, plug it in, and then we're gonna remove this adhesive backing. We're gonna push this into place, hold it. We're gonna hold it in place for a good minute so it can actually make sure it adheres real good. And hopefully we'll be good with this disaster that I've experienced, and hopefully I will save you guys the same kind of pain and suffering that I experienced. And then once we get this thing on, and we can go ahead and reapply the insert that goes in here to clean up the wiring and whatnot. And like I said, you may need to adjust your latch mechanism. Super easy to get this thing. I think I mentioned it before. You just got these 4 little, they normally look like little end cap nuts, unless you have the GM little miniaturized laundry net looking thing on here, and then they'll actually send you replacement nuts that have these hooks on them so you can attach the net. So that pops up, you'll just lift this up, then you can get to the 2 bolts. They are, I believe, 13mm bolts, and then you can adjust this up or down to give you the best latch and fit and how flush the trunk comes down a little bit on the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get this situated, and we're gonna hopefully knock this out. Make sure you hit this up with some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. Make sure you clear it off any kind of cleaner, anything that's gonna prevent the adhesive from sticking to that. I've already done the test fit, as you saw earlier. So we can go ahead and remove the adhesive. You do not want to get any kind of debris on this thing. This is going to be your waterproof barrier into this hole here, into your trunk, and you don't want to be collecting water inside of your trunk. Go ahead and plug it in. Make sure you have top oriented correctly. It's actually labeled top here. And we're going to feed it through. Nice and easy. Make sure everything's lined up, and go ahead and hold it in place. We're gonna let it, I'm gonna hold it here for a good solid minute, make sure it adheres fully, and then we should be good with this third brake light. I have the third brake light in place. It looks like it adhered very good. It looks like it's a pretty good clean fit. One thing to note, you probably want to test if the light actually works before you actually adhere it, which I failed to do. So we're gonna go ahead and do a quick test now and just see if the light comes on. It looks like it is. I'm actually in the car and it looks like the brake light is functioning. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the car, and we're gonna finish putting together this trunk. We're gonna go ahead and install the trunk felt liner piece here. And one thing I did notice,
was it has a spot here for one of the push buttons, but it lacks a spot here. It actually has two to the side. I guess if you're really, you know, hardcore, you could drill these maybe and add two more. I'm gonna try to run it without it, and you know, we'll see how it looks. I'm sure why they did it like that, but you know, it's one of those things that sometimes you just don't get 100% a fit with some of this stuff with carbon fiber parts. Now you're gonna feed the safety release handle through here, and then you're gonna have to just kind of put this over the latch mechanism. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in two of the little pieces here. And also note you do have this little bezel piece that's gonna go over here, and it does have these little clips that should clip underneath this felt liner. There we go, like that. And you do have a cutout here for your wire. Make sure you tuck it in there. All right, there we go. Everything looks like it's in place other than the one hole here but I mean, it's got enough to hold it in place. It's not gonna flop around or anything like that. It's just kind of ugly having a obvious spot where one of these goes and, you know, there's not being a hole there. You know, I could drill this out if I wanted, or drill these out, which would look worse. I'm just gonna leave it for now, and then, you know, if it gets on my nerve or not, maybe I'll look into that. So that should tie in the full trunk. And, you know, one thing to note, it is a little bit harder to close. So I don't want to slam, being it is carbon fiber, and this is on just a kind of a thin piece of carbon fiber, these little stops here. And so, you know, I kind of will lock it in place like that. And as you can see here, it does look pretty good. We'll go ahead and take one final look at it, at the trunk, and then we'll wrap this up. And yeah, there we have it. Trunk install is finally complete. Took me like a week and a half with my incident, as mentioned earlier. Sorry the video ran a little bit long. You know, I tried to cover everything because I know there are some videos out there, but they kind of shortcut and skip a lot of the stuff. And, you know, just in case anybody had questions on, you know, what kind of trimming you need to do, getting some of the, you know, aligning the gaps. Since I reinstalled the trunk, my gap is pretty good. I think it's relatively even width between the gaps. Maybe a little bit I can work on. You know, here on the very end gap, slightly different. So I can tweak that a little bit more, fine tune stuff. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I love the look of these style, you know, trunk with integrated spoiler. And I did weigh the OEM trunk in it. I believe it with the ZL1 OEM trunk with that spoiler. I think it came out to about 26 pounds, a little over 26 pounds, I think it was. And Anderson Composite website says this one is 9-ish pounds. So you do save, you know, over 15 pounds weight if that's a thing that you're worrying about. So this is one of the carbon fiber parts you actually do have some weight savings. You definitely, picking this thing up is much lighter in hand, so I know for sure that is pretty accurate. You're saving a good 15 something pounds. Now, if you just had a normal trunk, no spoiler or anything like that, I believe they say those weigh something like 19 pounds. So you'd save about 10 pounds going to this from that. So overall, much improved looks. You also get the bonus of having some, you know, a couple double Whoppers with cheese worth of weight savings. And, you know, I love how it just ties in with my exposed carbon fiber little heat exchanger here, or that goes on my hood. So that all ties in together, gives me that nice carbon fiber look. Now, I'd love to have like a carbon fiber roof look or something like that to tie it all in, but you know, that's one of those things, it's a wish. And also have this really nice shop fan I have in here. Check out the video for that. This thing definitely helps keep my heat down in the garage. Without it, it's freaking boiling hot. So link up here for that. And yeah, we'll go ahead and tie this up. Stay tuned for a lot more carbon fiber, hopefully with a lot less incidents. But hey, if I have an incident, perhaps that'll save you from having an incident. And you know, if I can save you guys a headache, and I myself will suffer through it. You know, hey, that's a win for everyone other than myself, but you know, sometimes sacrifices must be made. So go ahead and wrap this out. Have a good one. As always, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and all that fun stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.